Paris is a banquet, a movable feast. A feast offers you everything you could possibly want, everything you could eat. More, in fact, than you could ever consume. Paris isn't just a little bit of everything. It's a lot of everything. It satisfies every taste. Beneath this cityscape is a table set with history, with culture, learning, architecture, fashion, science, cathedrals, monuments, more than you could consume in many lifetimes. Paris has 150 museums, reflecting more than 2,000 years of history. It has more than 2 million people, eating in 40,000 restaurants. There seems to be a bakery on every city block. Paris lives inside every person who has lived here. Hemingway called the city a movable feast. It came back across the Atlantic with him, nourished him throughout his whole career. It defined him, changed the chemistry of his outlook, and baptized his imagination. Once you've been an American in Paris for 6 weeks, you will understand what Hemingway meant. What is beauty? If you ask me, I know what it is, but if you ask me to explain it, I can't. But if I had to point to it, I would point to Paris. Paris has the soul of an artist. Parisians seem to believe that beauty abhors a vacuum. When the Bourbon monarchs abandoned the Louvre, art swarmed in to fill up its empty halls. The Gare d'Orsay used to be a train station. It's now the Grand Central Station of art. It houses thousands of paintings by impressionists like Cassatt, Degas, Monet, Pissarro, as well as many of the movements that followed. Even its public gardens, the Tuileries, the Luxembourg, the Musée Rodin, are works of art, where Parisians come to play, to picnic, or just to meditate in galleries of stone, water, and greenery. There is beauty here for every kind of taste, architectural and anarchistic, cubistic and comic, culinary and classical, exotic, erotic, expressionist, medieval, and modern, impressionist, improbable, popular and primitive, rococo, Rubenesque, romantic, revolutionary, sacred, and surreal. You can't hide from beauty in this city. It waits around every corner. It's often worn by models, and it's often worn by time. You may find yourself inside it, but one way or another, it will find its way inside of you. This study abroad takes you on 2 overnight trips, north to Normandy and south to the Loire Valley.
You have to guess the name of the song.
Normandy is France's dairy land, where cows contribute the main ingredient for camembert cheese, and where since the time of Charlemagne, apples have been turned into cider and calvados. Its green pastures run along the blue waters of La Manche, what we call the English Channel. Normandy has special historical significance for us. Many Americans saw France for the first time from these shores, weighed down by 100-pound backpacks, by seasickness and terror. Now it's a quiet, scarred landscape, a place of remembrance. Some other invaders, the Norman conquerors of England, departed from this peninsula in 1066. This 230-foot embroidery was created 900 years ago to tell that story, and it is housed here in the medieval town of Bayeux. Just along another stretch of this shore is Mont Saint-Michel. Here our students get their chance to storm beaches. Our trip to the Loire Valley takes us south of Paris. This region is famous for its chateaux, the great country estates of France's kings and nobility. We often visit this architectural wonder, the Royal Château de Chambord. The writer Henry James once remarked that its towers, cupolas, the gables, the lanterns, the chimneys look more like the spires of a city than the salient points of a single building. This one, the Château de Chenonceau, was built on the foundations of an old mill in the middle of the river Cher. It was given by Henry II to his mistress, Diane de Poitiers, but reclaimed upon his death by Henry's widow, Catherine de' Medici. It's now under new ownership.
Yes, this is my summer home. Thank you, President Adams.
In the evening, we retired to this estate in the village of Oisey, the Château Montauban, In Roman times, a temple stood on this site, and in the late Middle Ages, a castle. The current chateau was built in the 18th century. This structure, which dates to the 15th century, was built to breed doves. The Loire is also a winemaking region. Wine, Galileo once said, is sunlight held together by water. Here in the Loire Valley, one can see where this transformation begins and where it ends inside hillside caves once mined for the stones that built these towns.
Approximately 90% inside the cellar. And we go in
Different grapes to make one good wine. Because if you use only one grape, you cannot have a good wine. You can have some, but you need to mix with some other grapes.
We don't want to be close. That's what every person ever wants.
Yes, sir. South is gonna change. Everything's gonna be put on electricity and run on a paying basis. Out with the old spiritual mumbo jumbo, the superstitions, and the backward ways. We're gonna see a brave new world where they run everybody a wire and hook us all up to a grid. Yes, sir. A veritable age of reason, like the one they had in France. Not a moment too soon.
Paris is hooked up to a grid. But long before it had gas or electricity, it was already a city of light, a hub of learning, a beacon. Even as this structure was going up in the 13th century, students were already coming here from across the continent. The greatest thinker of the Middle Ages, Thomas Aquinas, came here from Italy to study under Albert the Great. Albert the Great came here from Germany. This pattern has persisted for 9 centuries. When we speak now of science and the Enlightenment, that great eruption of learning that began 4 centuries ago, Paris always comes to mind, as do the architects of American democracy. You could say that Franklin, Adams, Jefferson, and Paine came here to study abroad. For you, that experience begins here at St. John's University, the facility where our students sleep and eat breakfast and lunch. Students convene here 4 mornings a week and then radiate out to explore the city. A short walk takes you to the Eiffel Tower, the Musée d'Orsay, the Louvre, Notre Dame de Paris. From right across the street, the metro station will take you everywhere else. There are endless things to learn in this capital of light, even in black and white. But you'll have the opportunity to learn in color, even in 3D. Once you step out from this front door, you're inside both the present and the past, inside a vast archive of thought and experience, of sobering history and upward aspiration. Paris is a world capital of commerce, art, science, fashion. It's also a capital of pleasure. But why pursue pleasure? Because it awakens us. We need food, and pleasure seeks it out. We need oxygen, and pleasure wants to breathe. We need to find our way in the world, and pleasure helps us to see. Pleasure perpetuates life itself. You've been pursuing pleasure since you were born. You're experts, but you should never stop enjoying simple ones. Sometimes you just need a crepe with Nutella and banana slices. Sometimes you need to buy 2 baguettes, so you'll have one to eat on the way home. When you get back to Georgia, you'll long for these. But you should taste things you've never heard of before, things never conceived. To taste more things is to enjoy things more. The farther we pursue pleasure, the deeper it goes. Even dark subterranean places can awaken understanding. We often speak of our desire to see Paris, but it's also a place that needs to be heard and felt. It also invites us to look from on high. Seeing from higher up brings the sublimity of perspective, of taking in a multitude of things all at once. But the greatest pleasure is the pleasure of friendship, of tasting Paris together. Things enjoyed in fleeting moments somehow fuse together when we experience them shoulder to shoulder. Those moments that burned so brightly radiate warmth long after.